Hey everybody, it's Allie Edwards, and I am super excited to be back here with you for another December daily season. Most years, I already have some foundation pages to show you by this point in the year. This year's been a little bit different, and I'm just kind of rolling with it. I have some pages that I've completed, some foundation pages I've completed for our product play workshop this year, so you can click on the link to check those out. Today, I am here to do my first page, my first main page, which is going to be my beginning of my album, right? Probably the reason why. My intro page, my reason why page. Last couple of years, I've done a shaker page for my first page. I've got 2022 right here. Let's take a look at 2022. All these things you can see in the past posts. So this was 2022. I did something like this, had a big shaker. That was really fun. I liked that one. Let's see what I did in 2023. Okay, in 2023, I did a shaker just to begin with because it was so fun. And you can see how this one's just like a big entry page. And then I did this guy here that's got my reason why, another shaker, whole bunch of fun stuff on the back here. Super fun. So I think what I want to do for my intro page this year is I'm going to use this pattern paper. This was from the add-on pattern paper pack. If you have the main kit, there is a red and white version of this. I've actually already used that on another project, which is why I'm on to this one. You could pick any of the pattern papers that you like. I really like how those turned out this year. I'm going to be doing this as a flip out of some way or another. I think I was still trying. This is one of the pieces that I'm still trying to figure out. Where do I want this to be? Do I want it to be a flip out? Does it have to be a flip out? Or can it just be, because I kind of want the Mary to start in that same spot. These are the things that I need to know. So if I want it to be the same width as outside of the page protector, that's going to be 7 inches. These papers are 11. So 7 is about right there, which would be just fine. I'm kind of thinking that I would like to have this little tag on here, and this is where I'm going to put my 2024. So I want to use one of these transparencies that are on this guy here. You could also, if you want to follow along with what I'm doing, you could use one of the vellum pieces from the main kit. That would also work just fine, and maybe I will end up doing one of those. Either way, whichever one you have, you can use if you like this idea. You could also do the color wheel. Maybe I want to do the color wheel on there. That's kind of fun. That's kind of joyful. What I'm thinking about doing actually is punching this guy out. As I thought about my reason why for this year, and I think this feels similar to the last couple of years, and sometimes I have a few years where they're the same, where I really do just want to have fun. I want to have fun with the project. I want to find joy where I can in the season. I'm looking forward to it. And so I'm trying to think about ways that I can reflect that in the choices that I'm making in the project. Some years it's been more about family, and some years it's been more about my own creative play. It's not a right or a wrong, it's just an is. So like I said, I kind of like the idea of cutting that out, and maybe this would just be behind. I'm also thinking that on top of here, I would add 2024 and maybe an E and an M for Edwards and McKercher, and then have the 2024 on the bottom. I think I kind of need to just go with it to see what's going to happen. But if you like that ornament idea, obviously that's another way you could do that. If I want a brighter and lighter, maybe I'll use this one on there. Let's kind of see what happens when I punch this out. First thing I want to do is I want to measure. It's about 2 inches inside the gold. So I think if I use a 2-inch circle punch, let's see. Other sentiments. These cards are from the mixed card pack. Grateful. There's this guy here. Tradition. Adore him. I mean, this is a tradition, right? This has definitely become a tradition. It's like I almost need to tell a story about just how, yeah, that one's a little bit too big. Okay, we may come back to that. All right, so I went ahead and did punch out that joyful letterpress card. This is with the gold foil on it. Again, that's from the specialty card pack, but you could punch a circle out of pattern paper. You could add a little bit of journaling. You could punch out a photo if you wanted that on the front, right? Remember to continue being a translator of ideas. We talk about that a lot in most of our classes. If you see a circle, that circle could be an embellishment. It could be a sticker, it could be a photo, it could be journaling. Okay, let's talk real briefly about what I just did. I just put an A down, and we don't have any A last names. So that will get fixed eventually. You'll hear me talk about that. But in the moment, I'm just running with it. So on top of my color wheel there, I'm using stickers from the sticker pack that we made that have all single numbers on each sheet. And then I'm using the puffy letters that we also offered this year, which again will become an M. If you don't know, we have two last names in our households. In our household, we are Edwards and McKercher. So a lot of the times when I'm doing a project like this, I will do E and M. Eventually, I'm going to end up stitching a red plus sign in between there using some embroidery floss. So the first thing here is just kind of trying to get it in the right spot. I had a little bit of a hard time getting it centered, and I end up kind of replacing things again later on. They're pretty easy. These are all pretty easy to pull up and then stick back down there too. As always, you can do something else in this space. I just wanted our initials and the date or the year that would eventually be on top. At that point in time, I'm thinking that I'm going to use a brad there. I do end up using ribbon, and we'll talk about that more. All right, so one of the first things I needed to do was fold this pattern paper. One of the things I'm loving so far about working in the 6x8 album this year after doing a couple years of 10x8 is being able to use the 10x8 pattern paper in the 6x8 with doing folding or cutting it up or those sorts of things. So after I cut it up, after I folded it, I used my bone folder there, then I punched holes so that I was all ready to begin the next piece of the process. Okay, I can always tell it's December daily time when 5:30 or 5 a.m. rolls around and I'm wide awake thinking about this project and thinking about ideas, which is what happened to me last night. All right, so let me give you an update on where this is at. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I don't always film these types of projects all at one time. I kind of jump back and forth into them. So what I have right now is I usually do a little recap. I've got the circle here with the joyful. I've got the Edwards, the A. This is not an A. This is supposed to be an M. You guys, what am I doing? Somebody was already yelling at me, I'm sure, when that was happening. Okay, well, this is going to be an M. I'm so used to the A's. You know how many A's we have in our family? We have two different last names. That's the reason why I do two different initials. Now I got to find those alpha stickers. Okay, let's come back to that because actually, here they are. So make that adjustment. And then I want to tell you about what I have decided to do on the inside because I'm very excited about it. Okay. We're going to need to put an and in there in some way or another. And I'm going to move the E out just a little bit. I want a plus sign is what I really want. So I need to look through some of my other stuff and see if I can find it. Okay, so this is going to be something that's going to happen. This is going to be the front. And then you'll turn the page. I'm going to set that aside. Turn the page. And what I decided to do is fold this. This is folded at the 6 or 7 inch mark. This is 7 inches that I folded. I think you might have seen that. I used my trimmer to fold. And then I was thinking about a table of contents and what I wanted to do for a table of contents this year. Last year, and I think the year before, last year I did it in the inside of the album, like in the 10x8 album cover, and I really liked that. The year before, I did it on a piece of cardstock or a piece of pattern paper with strips. This year in the main kit, we did these great little numbers, and I knew that I was probably going to use them in this way. There are 31 of them. I do 25 days, so I'm just going to do 25 of them. And I kind of laid them out, and I started seeing what was going to happen. But what I got really excited about is that they fit right in this space here. See this? And then over here, I can have a longer reason why or something typed up or a photo, or those are the things I'm going to figure out. So I measured all these out. I also took them and I put Scotch tape behind them so they become a group of these. I did a couple of them, and I was going to do some more with you. And the next things that I'm thinking about here are, do I want to, let's see, first let me get these 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So the next things I'm thinking about are, do I want to have pattern paper behind my table of contents? I'm just laying these together and putting a little bit of gentle pressure to stick them together. And then so I'm thinking about pattern paper and which one of the pattern papers might I want to add behind here for this page. And I also, the other idea I have is I pulled out one of the transparencies. I love transparency so much. One of them is this one, the 2024. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe I will stitch this piece, like cut this, stitch it to the pattern paper. Right now I'm kind of thinking about this one. Stitch it to the pattern paper so that when, and I'll trim it obviously, so that when this is closed, when you open it up, you'll have the 2024 first, like it's a page on its own, or a little mini page in the booklet. So I'll trim it so that it won't cover the holes, right? So the holes can exist on their own, but that it would be in here. And I'm thinking if I stitch it to the pattern paper first, before I adhere the pattern paper into the album, then that should work as a open and close. Anyway, these are the things I've been thinking about. Okay, so 5, 6, 7. Whoops. Look at that. Can you guys see where? See, this is why I shouldn't talk and do this at the same time. I gotta go the other way. Oh man. Okay, bear with me. So I'm going to redo these. But there's lots of different ways that you can do this, right? You could spread them out. If you're doing a larger album, if you're doing the smaller album, you could do it over a couple of sheets. Okay, I got to focus for a second. 6, 7, 8. You could do it. You could do it on 3x4 cards, right? Like do a couple of them at a time. It would take a few of those, obviously, but that's okay. 8, 9, 10. Or you don't have to do a table of contents at all. I just started doing this the last couple of years. I probably saw somebody else do it at some point in time, and I was like, that's a great idea. I want to implement that into my project. And so I've done it a few different ways over the last few years. And I will just handwrite them on here, I think. The other thing I could do is sticker paper, but I don't think I will do that, mainly because of the way that am I doing it wrong again? Oh my God. Okay, I had to stop talking while I was recording myself because I was making the same mistake multiple times. Is this getting older? Is this postmenopausal stuff? Is this what? We'll never know. It's a lot to talk and film at the same time and use your hands and make stuff. Anyway, I don't recommend talking while you're doing this. All right, I'm going to get these guys lined up here. Again, just using the Scotch tape in the background. This is one of those things where I knew I would figure out a way to use these. Like they had an intention behind them, right? I've been doing some table of contents the last couple of years. I loved that they could be used for that. I loved that you could space them out. I loved that you could use them individually on a page or on a photo, just as a story designator or a day designator. There's lots of different ways that you can use these. But putting them in strips like this, I totally love how this turned out, and I do feel really excited. I really liked coming to this each day last year, and then after I did my story, writing in the little title, that just made me happy, and it was fun to add those into the video. Okay, so I'm placing the pattern paper behind to double check that this is the pattern paper that I would like to use, and then you're going to notice me just testing out a few things. I wanted to add an embellishment along the edge, so I'm looking at the large chipboard words, I'm looking at the plastic tree. I'm kind of thinking about a few different things. And while I'm thinking about that, I trim the pattern paper that's, again, to about 7 inches wide. And I'm going to cut up one of the transparencies here, this large 2024 transparency, because I'm still kind of thinking that I'm going to do a fold open with the transparency that essentially creates a second page inside of this fold. In the end, I don't end up using this one, and it was only just personal preference. So this might be something that you really like, how it turns out. For me, it became an extra thing that I didn't feel like I need. So I'm going to try to fit this transparency in somewhere else, most likely probably cutting it out. But I want to show you, I actually go through the whole process here. And that's one of the things, if you're new to my videos, if you're new to this channel or new to my blog, a lot of times in these videos, I'm not showing you, a step-by-step process. Step 1, here's what you do. Step 2, here's what you do. I'm 100% taking you along with me on the adventure of creative decision making. So you'll see things like this right here where I'm going to make a fold open. I'm using the washi tape from the main kit. The transparency is laying on top of the pattern paper, and I'm going to fold this over in order to create an opportunity for it to open. I don't end up choosing this in my own album, not because it's a right or a wrong, but for whatever reason, it just didn't feel right for me in my body. And a lot of what I do is listening to myself, right? Listening to myself, trusting whatever my decision is, and also years of knowledge that there's not a right decision or a wrong decision. I could have done this and it would have been totally awesome. And I could not do it and it's still going to be awesome. So choose what feels right for you. One thing I would note is if you are doing the transparency, don't forget to leave space for the holes. So you can see that I cut it a little bit shorter than the pattern paper so that I could punch the holes if I did end up going in this direction. I absolutely think this would work. I think it's cute. If you love it, use a transparency in there. Do it. Let's see it. I want to see how it ends up looking too. I think it looks cool. I think at this point, I've been doing a lot of my projects that I've done this year feel very bold. The colors are bold, the type is bold, that sort of thing. And I think I just wanted a tiny bit less of that when you open up this first story. That's where I'm going with that. And then I was kind of trying to think of all these other, maybe I'll put it on the side, maybe I'll put it in a different spot. I don't end up using it on this first page, but we'll probably see it again at some point in the album this December. All right, so a lot of opening and closing and just kind of looking, taking the temperature. How do I feel on this one? What is this? Where am I going? And then it's like I allow myself a minute or two to think about it, and then I'm like, okay, let's go. Need to make a decision. Need to move forward. Otherwise, I would never get anything done, right? And I know for some of you struggling with decision fatigue, the more you stick things down, the more you're going to learn about yourself, the more confidence you're going to build in your own decision-making skills, and the whole process is just going to become more fun and easier when you realize that there isn't a right or a wrong, and you just got to trust your interior self. Your interior self knows what you want to do. Maybe it doesn't look like mine at all. That's awesome, right? Value your individual creativity. We all have it. It's a part of all of us, and it looks different, which is part of the beauty of it. All right, so I've got that pattern paper in there, and now I think I'm going to go maybe start adhering these guys down. Let's see what I end up doing next. I do lay them all out. I think it is way easier to do it this way also than doing it one at a time, especially if you're going to have them touching each other like I am. If you're going to have them spaced out, obviously you're going to have to do them individually. So when I'm adhering something like this down, I usually do the top one, and then I do the bottom one, and then I do the middle one, because that helps with visual spacing. You can absolutely put a ruler down or a sheet of paper or something else if you want it to make sure that the spacing is as close as you want it to be. My goal is not perfect, but I've also been doing this for such a long time that my eye is pretty decent on making things straight. But I also don't really care that much if it's off a little bit either. That's one of those things I think I've had to let go of after years and years of crafting and creating and telling stories and doing all of those things. All right, so got all of those added in there. Again, just using rolling adhesive. That rolling adhesive that I love to use is from scrapbook.com. Okay, now I'm back and looking at a few other things. Circles, the large die cut titles in the large die cut pack, the multicolored trees, thinking through some of these things that could work there. And maybe you'll see something that you're like, yes, absolutely 100%. Okay, here's where I placed down the bow, and I'm like, I kind of like that bow there. I wanted to see what the doves looked like, just even having a circle that would repeat the circle on the front, just visually letting myself kind of see what these different things look like. This is sped up just a tad bit, so if when I'm there by myself, I'm going a little bit slower because I'm looking at it and I'm like, what do I think about that? What do I think about that? There's a bazillion different options, and any one of these would be great. If I was going to do one of those titles, I would probably stitch it down. I would maybe do a little bit of adhesive first, but there's lots of different ways that you could have that attached on there. I even considered doing the 2024 underneath the bow. There's what the 25 looks like. The reason why I didn't do the 25 is I feel like we're too close to 2025, that if I put the 25 there, it would feel like it was 2025. These are the things that stop us from doing things, right? These are the things we make up in our heads. All right. As I'm doing this, I'm going to end up doing the bow because I really do like how the bow looks. And so that's what's going to go on there. And I think, this year we have some fun graphic motifs within the collection, including the bows, the gingerbread people, the doves, and those color wheels. So you can have all of them. You can pick and choose. So after I temporarily adhered that bow on there, I went ahead and ran it through the sewing machine. And this is before I'm adding anything else in the inside. I just run it through a straight stitch all the way down, and that will keep that guy in place there. Okay, so now I'm going to work on that front cover. I'm adhering the joyful down, and now I'm going to do the stitching there to create the plus sign. I was going to look and see if I had any plus signs, but then I remembered, oh yeah, I can just do this with some embroidery floss. If you guys could see my desk right now too, it is a complete and utter disaster. I need to like set aside at least 20 minutes and I need to stop everything else and just deal with it because I'm going to lose things. Like I am in that season, which I love, and it's super fun, and I'm so excited. And I woke up again at 5 o'clock today with ideas and just wanting to get back in here and get some stuff done, which is super fun. And also, I have to pace myself a little bit because yeah. All right, so on the back, I'm cutting my tail really small so that it doesn't peek through as much. I do end up adding a little bit of Scotch tape to the back. You can't really see it of the embroidery thread there, the embroidery floss. And then I initially was thinking I would do a brad for that, but then when I looked at the brads I had, they were all gold, which would have been fine, but they were too big. So I decided I didn't want to have one of those, and instead I punched a hole using the We Are Memory Keepers hole punch, and I'm using some green ribbon, which is added to the supply list. You can find that on the supply list. It's from Amazon. I did do a little Amazon storefront for just the things that I'm using in December daily. Like I took any of the supplies that I'm using, things like the basic things, scissors, trimmer, my printers, that sort of thing. You can check that out. Anything that I'm using that's from there is included in that little curation that I have on there. All right, so trimming off, making this a really small tail or short tail on the ribbon because my intent here is I'm just going to adhere it down. I got the M back on there. Okay. Yay. Welcome back, M. Or welcome to the party, M. We don't need any A's here. All right. Okay. So now I'm using foam adhesive to adhere that down. I like that it gives it just a tiny bit of dimension up the top of the page there. And then I did a glue dot for one side of the ribbon because I wanted it to lay flat, and then I didn't want the other side to lay flat, so I used foam adhesive for that one. Had to move it around a little bit because I had it up too far. I did move the 2024 over just a little bit. It's still not really centered, but it's closer. Sometimes when you have like an E and an M like that, it's a little bit challenging because their widths are different, and so then it throws off the rest of it. All right, so the next thing I did was I went over to my computer and I typed up my reason why / my journaling, my starting journaling, and this is something that I've done for a number of years now. I love just giving myself an entry point into the project. And you don't have to judge yourself about what you write on here. I just like having a starting place. In some years it's a very specific intent, and I have a very specific thing I want to focus on. This year I'm talking a lot about the fa la la of it all and how I want to fa la la through the season. And to me, fa la la is a lot about joy and laughter and lightness. And so I'm writing a little bit about that in here. I'm also writing about a little bit about getting older, a little bit about how I feel very conscious of how fragile life is, so thinking about that too. So I printed out my journaling on white paper. I ran it through, or I printed it with a laser printer. I have a small laser printer, or actually I have a big laser printer in here, but you can get a small laser printer. And then I ran it through the Mink machine, which can add foil to the top, and I did a red foil on there. It's a little bit hard to see in the image. That's also a free download for you, the Welcome December Daily 2024 word art there. You can grab that in the blog post. As I was getting ready to adhere the journaling down, I noticed again that I have the back of the bow. So lots of things you could do on the back of the bow. This is what's sitting up, coming over the edge of the flap there. You could stamp on there. You could emboss a pattern onto it. You could add a piece of pattern paper. One of my favorite things to do with a little spot like this is to use some washi tape. I have a lot of Christmas washi tape, collected over the years, and this is one of those times where those can be added in. I actually love so much that some of these are repeated almost every year in my album. I think I've had that Fa La La washi tape for I don't even know how many years I've had that. Now I will feel sad when it's gone, so I use it sparingly, but I use a little bit of it. It seems like every year, so that can be a fun thing to add to the back. I did scissors first, and then I'm using my craft knife a little bit too to cut around the outside edge. Once that was done, I laid it in the album just so I could see, what do we got? How does this look? How do I feel? I like this as an intro page this year, as a welcome page. Taking a little break from the shaker. I'm sure there will be a shaker at some point or another here, just because they're so fun. The other thing that, as I was doing this, so when I printed this paper, I printed it was more of a test print originally, and then I felt like it worked fine, but it was on a lighter piece of paper. So I'm actually going to back it onto a white piece of cardstock before I adhere it down into the flap. It's not necessary, but I just know that sometimes when I've tried to just put in a piece of like regular printer paper, that sometimes you can see through to the adhesive, right? It's just a thinner paper. So I'm adhering it to a piece of white cardstock, or backing it to a piece of white cardstock, which I am then going to run through my sewing machine where I am imperfect on purpose, and adding just a border. So I go around it twice to create a red border. I really like how that looks. I'm always, here to add in, whether it's hand stitching or machine stitching, a little bit of that. We're actually going to be talking about that on prep day. Stitching is one of the topics for our prep day that's happening on Sunday, November 3rd. If you're watching this after the fact, that is a $5 online event. We record everything, so you can go back in and you can still pick that up or sign up for it and have access to all the content from the course of the day. All right, I'm using red line tape here to add so that I can hear that journaling in, and I'm almost done with this one. I really love how this turned out. I think it's a great starting point. I hope to be back later during the month of November to share some more foundation pages or page ideas, and share a little bit more about what's happening in my album. We're here. We're starting. I'm so excited. Seriously, I'm so excited. I love this project so much. It has been a huge piece of my life, and I'm so thankful for all of you who keep showing up.